Good day, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome to your most preferred YouTube channel, Channel Up. If you followed my last video, you will recall that we left off with very few conclusions about the disturbing death of Nigerian artist Ilerioluwa Oladimeji Aloba, popularly known as Mohbad. Now, what you are about to hear in the next video I will show you is a continuation of that story, and this time we go deeper, much deeper. Okay, what we've uncovered in this particular story over the last few months is not only worrying, but it's haunting. I have retired or ex investigative journalist on this one, and Kemi Olunloyo is not bringing down her hands this time around. She has come blood for blood for everybody who is involved in this, and she has mentioned names. I told you she mentioned Davido's name in the last part, right? This time around, she has come up to bring more names, and then she has given evidences for why this particular video is so important to the capture of whoever killed Mohbad. Stay tuned.
One of the things I've been studying in the case of Mohbad, I was the only journalist in the country, Nigeria, to investigate this case from September of 2023 till March of 2025. I closed my investigation after 18 months. However, an inquest came out, and the results of the inquest, I'm not totally satisfied with it. The judge found out that Mohbad's cause of death could not be ascertained at first. Then they said the nurse is the only one that's going to take the fall, and they're going to prosecute her and spend it. One of Mohbad's friend, who claimed he went to the pharmacy to buy some drugs at 3 in the morning. We have looked at this case in all kinds of facets. Some of these facets Nigerians don't know. I sent this entire case to an American journalist and a Canadian journalist, and they came back after 3 months to tell me they feel that this case was a premeditated murder. I disagreed because I found out it was a manslaughter with touches of cultism and ritualism. Where is the cultism and ritualism? I'm getting that in a minute. But the manslaughter was because after a concert, Wumi was fighting with Mohbad in the car with the baby present. Babies don't talk. There was somebody in the front seat and a driver. The driver has spoken to VDM, okay? And VDM is a community activist slash social commentator who is now playing private investigator, trying to, unravel things. I am an investigative journalist, and he is somehow like a private investigator doing what the investigators are supposed to be doing because they're not doing their job at the Nigerian police. Case has been botched because DCP Ayilara died, one. It was moved away to Akwa Ibom. The CPO Wonha was forcibly retired because they said he lied about his age. They found a way to actually kill this case on the police level. And when all this was happening, I was telling Nigerians and nobody listened. In November of 2023, when I finished the initial investigation, and I submitted it to Ayilara in December, Omoyele Shore's group, Revolution Now, had a news conference that was little known. Like no media really covered it, but possibly just Sahara Reporters, his own media outlet. We said at that time that this case has been botched, but nobody paid attention. Everybody was asleep. And then 2 years later now, everyone's awake. There are aspects of cultism here. Mohbad himself was throwing cult sign on the day of that concert. Okay, he had his hand with a cult sign, greeting somebody we didn't see, or someone took his picture. He had cult affiliations. He had an addiction problem that was pretty much gone and was starting his life over. And I have a book, a documentary that I'm writing. Most journalists, when they investigate a case and it's their sole, work, they like to put it in a book and then maybe a documentary or a movie or something. But at this point, what I'm looking at here, the cultism ties. And I want to ask David Adeleke, okay, because David Adeleke is acting like a third-party person. They do this in Nigeria. When Iyabojo wanted to abuse me, she used Esabod to get to me and abuse my autistic children, okay? When Mercy Johnson wanted to attack Angelo Corey, she used Regina Daniels. This nonsense is what they do. Dre Davido, who is this guy? Davido's what? PA or what? The other PA died suddenly. Everybody died mysteriously in his camp. Who is Dre Davido? He's in the group where they said autopsy is not their goal. The group where they were only concerned about raising money for Wumi and the rest of them. The group where something shady was going on. I need to know where Mohbad's body was between the time he died and and the time they went to prep him for that coffin. Darusha said he embalmed Mohbad. Then he changed the story and said he wasn't the one that embalmed him. He changed his story twice to the police. Mohbad's head was shaved and a white cap was put on his head. Why did they shave his head? There was a head injury to the neck. And I keep saying that neck head area had an injury from the railing when Wunmi pushed him and he was stabbed with that railing. The autopsy did not show us that because they hid it. The Lagos state government hid the autopsy. What they gave us was fake. And I was the first to go on Daddy Freeze and told you the toxicology test itself was fake. They said they sent it to America. Then they used the media house, Cable NG. Please don't go to Cable NG. It's a fake news media house. They paid them in May of 2024 to release the autopsy and toxicology test. We ran to it, and I noticed this kind of drugs as a pharmacist can't be present in a body that's been 7 days underground with livor mortis and rigor mortis. It has to be a lie. There was a reason God put me in this investigation. Being a pharmacist, how can you say you have acetaminophen in his system? Acetaminophen, the generic name for, Tylenol. Did he take acetaminophen or he took the paracetamol equivalent of it? Then we found diphenhydramine 50 milligrams injection. It was just fake. Then we sent people to the lab in America. They sent them away to another third-party lab, and the third-party lab belongs to the guy that owns the lab in Lagos. The runaround was too much. Eventually, all I was targeting was that toxicology test in America. So the one you gave Cable NG didn't work. We discovered it was fake. You don't want to show a wound on Mohbad's neck head area, but you go shave his hair, okay, and you bring him to be buried. Then when it was exhumed, that neck head area had, spinal fluid coming out of the coffin, like a mixture of water and blood. I mean, you couldn't hide these things. You can't make this up. Okay, that place where you prepped him from, some people are saying he was buried according to Muslim right. Mohbad was not a Muslim. He was not buried the next day because of Muslim right. Mohbad was buried the next day because they couldn't bury him the day before at night. They said they should come in the morning. However, he was buried quickly because a police report was needed, okay, or a death certificate to keep it in a mortuary. And that belonged to Wunmi. It was in her hands. And she wouldn't give it to the father of Mohbad so that he can store the boy's body, he can have an autopsy and all. Wunmi kept it. They did that because they wanted to hide the drugs they rigged his body with. That way he can be buried and that's it. Little did they know he'll be exhumed, but after the exhumation, the government messed it all up. I'm still waiting for that toxicology test because guess what? The DPP himself, they're all fraudulent. This book will break down Nigeria. This book I'm writing, believe me. The toxicology test that was goofed up in May of 2024 when we caught them, they now had like a little press conference. The DPP told the media, what did he tell us? Okay, physically I wasn't in Nigeria, but my interns were standing there at the press conference. We finally have the toxicology test from America, October of 2024. Hello, one of my interns asked, but you said the toxicology test has already come out and you showed us something with Cable NG in May. He said, no, this is the actual one. You see what they do? So the toxicology test, okay, has come back from America, October. We're going to announce it in a few weeks. If you're talking in October and you say a few weeks, we're expecting you to say something by November. Or even December. Guys, it's 9 months. The person standing there getting pregnant on that day just had their baby. Imagine, it's 9 months going on 10 months. Mr. DPP, you lied again. There was no toxicology test done for Mohbad. And then you now close it at the inquest with an inquest verdict saying that Mohbad died of a drug reaction. And the nurse will be the one to have the fall. Where is the toxicology test, TPP? Lagos state government, it can't end here. Wunmi Adebanjo unalived her husband in the middle of a fight, and it should be at least a 3-year manslaughter case, even though the U.S. journalists and Canadian journalists that I sent it to told me it's premeditated. Something that someone has been saying all along, Mr. Yomi Fabi, which I disagree with him. Mr. Fabi said it was all premeditated. And finally, you've been waiting for this part. Davido. Did you send Davido to pay for this hair? 2 million naira hair. Mohbad's hair. Did you pay 2 million naira for Mohbad's hair? Yes or no? Just answer it. Did you pay 2 million naira for this hair? Hair is used in rituals. Hair is used in cultism. Hair is a big ingredient in rituals when you want to gain energy, power, money, and all. I don't care what you pay, 2 million, 10 million, you're still not going to win that Grammy. Okay, your concert might be selling 12,000 naira audio tickets, but you need to come clean, Davido. I've tweeted it to my chest. Did you have anything to do with Mohbad's body parts? Some girl said you took the kidney. I don't believe any kidney was taken. But where's Mohbad's hair? Speak out, Davido. You're not clean. And Davido, you were in the group.
That is very, very sad. I am so sorry for those who really are sympathetic right now. Welcome back. This is Channel Up, your most preferred channel. Now let us start with the inquest. Let me give you a brief analysis of that video. Let's start with the inquest. What is the cause of death? It's unknown. That one alone is a loaded verdict. When a legal system, after months and months of examination and autopsy, comes out saying that they still cannot tell us what killed the man whose life and death were public, like Mohbad, that is no longer about lack of evidence. It is a kind of institutional failure, or what I would call deliberate evasion or deliberate cover-up. Now comes the convenience of a single scapegoat. They are so comfortable with making the nurse the scapegoat. From the complexity of the circumstances, this is clearly not a one-person job. Yet the system has kept on zeroing on the easiest link to break, hoping the chain collapses quietly. Okay, but what about that friend who allegedly left at 3 a.m. to buy drugs? No scrutiny about him, no explanation. That is a red flag for me, okay? Now, according to Dr. Kemi Olunloyo, who is a retired investigative journalist, she disagrees with international observers who believe that this was a premeditated murder. She believes it was manslaughter layered with cult undertones. This is very, very sad. It's getting shocking. This is getting scary. And maybe traces of ritual behavior. That position might seem controversial, but her evidence is not baseless. Trust me. For instance, the head injury. There was no autopsy finding any kind of head injury, and there was no show of any blunt force trauma. Yet, multiple witnesses, including those in the house, hinted at Mohbad falling or being pushed into a railing. Why was this particular angle ignored? Why was there no visible forensic path that explained the bruises or trauma around his neck and head area? Now, we have the embalmer, Darusha. He gave two different accounts to police about whether or not he handled the body. In a case this sensitive, a key individual changes his statement twice and not a single red light or red flag flashes across the investigative board. That's not incompetence. That's suppression. You get what I mean, right? Now, Mohbad's body was shaved. His head was shaved. A white cap was put on his head. This detail is not cultural. It is procedural. That's what I would call it. Who ordered that? Why did they need to remove the hair and conceal the scalp unless something needed to be hidden? Why did they go far as putting a cap on his head? Now, to the toxicology report, which was a complete mess. The test was supposedly carried out in the US, according to Kemi Olunloyo, but the details were released by a media platform, Cable NG, long after. In Nigeria, Kemi points out a very specific pharmaceutical contradiction. The substances allegedly found in his system could not have remained chemically stable inside a corpse that had been underground for 7 days. Do you get? Let's think about this, especially not with full rigor or and even liver mortis. That's not even journalism. It's basic science. It's just basic science. And then there is the Nigerian police. The case was first managed by the DCP, Ailara, who was suddenly transferred to Akwa Ibom with no circumstances. Was that a coincidence? Maybe. But CP Onga forced retirement over age discrepancies and all. That's too convenient. Okay, that's how you dismantle a case from the inside. Remove the handlers, inject silence, and it dies off a natural death. Do you understand me? Now, press briefing held in December 2023 tried to draw attention to this burial of truth, but the media, except for Sahara reporters, looked away. Why? Who instructed the silence? Why are we watching a slow burial of a case in full daylight? I am talking from the perspective of Kemi Olunloyo because that is what she's trying to portray to us. Let us not pretend that the cultism angle is a fiction or a story. Mohbad was seen allegedly throwing cult signs in public, yeah? No doubt. That alone does not confirm affiliation, but it raises serious questions about who had access to him, who visited him, and who he feared, and who he could have made his friend, or who could have made him vulnerable. This was not just about music. This was about power. This was about networks, and this was about unseen hands. Okay, so I want us to look at this part and think about it. Let us think about it over and over again. So after all this, all said and done, let us put the pieces together. Let us connect the dots. Let us make it to make sense. Do you understand me? We are all right thinking people. We are not, we're not dummies, right? Now, a confused autopsy with little or no results, a contradictory witness statement from different witnesses, silent police shifts and transfers with no useful reason, foreign journalists and investigators raising alarms, and a Nigerian public just waking up 2 years later to start looking for all these causes. If this was truly manslaughter, according to Kemi Olunloyo, it was one kind of manslaughter that thrived under a perfect kind of cover-up. And if cult ties were involved, then they did not start with Mohbad, and they won't end with Mohbad. Now, here is the truth. No one will say it out loud, yeah? But this is not just about who killed Mohbad. It's about who was never supposed to be blamed, who was never supposed to be called out, and who was never supposed to be made public in order to induce a serious diversion of the public's attention. Until next time, stay awake and be wise. If you've been following my videos, please give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to tap the notification bell. And please, I want to see your reactions about this in the comment section. Do you understand me? Finally, don't forget, share this video to your friends and family so it can go viral. My name is Angelo. See you next time. Bye.